Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into what feels like a total contradiction, how the world's richest people often carry way more personal debt than anyone else. I know, it sounds absolutely crazy, right? But we're going to unpack the exact mechanisms, the specific strategies, and the real-world context of how the ultra-wealthy use debt, not as a burden, but as a highly calibrated financial tool. We're dropping all the confusing financial jargon today so we can get a clear, visual understanding of how the world's most successful architects of wealth build empires using borrowed money. So let's start with the big question. Why on earth do billionaires borrow billions? I mean, it sounds completely counterintuitive. If you've got billions of dollars sitting in the bank or tied up in massive companies, why would you ever need to walk into a bank and ask for a loan? Most of us dream of the day we never have to borrow a single dime again. Yet, the wealthiest individuals on the planet actively seek out debt. They leverage it, they completely embrace it. And this brings us to a massive disconnect between what you and I are taught and what actually goes down at the highest levels of finance.
Okay, let's dive into this paradox. Everyday advice, you know the drill, tells the average person to avoid debt like the plague. Cut up those credit cards, pay off your house as fast as humanly possible, and live a totally debt-free life. It's safe, it's conservative, and honestly, it's pretty solid advice for most people. But the wealthy reality, it is completely different. The ultra-rich use debt strategically to build and multiply their wealth. They don't run from it, they manage it. They use it as this massive engine for enterprise growth. So how in the world do we reconcile these two totally opposite viewpoints?
Section 1. Good debt versus bad debt. Let's build a foundation. To really get the billionaire playbook, we first have to shift our mindset and realize that debt isn't just one big, terrifying monolith. Let's start with a clear definition. Financial leverage is the strategic use of borrowed capital to multiply the potential return of an investment, business, or asset. Think of the word itself. In physics, a lever allows you to use a tiny amount of your own physical force to move a massive, heavy object. Well, financial leverage works the exact same way. You're using a little bit of your own money combined with a lot of borrowed money to move a massive financial asset. The crucial takeaway here is that leverage itself is completely neutral. Think of it like fire. Fire can heat your home and cook your dinner, or it can burn your entire house down. The fire isn't evil, it's how you apply it that matters. Debt is exactly the same. It is merely an amplifier of outcomes. And this slide right here brilliantly illustrates the divide. On one hand, we've got good debt. These are your business loans used to scale a company, mortgages to acquire real estate, or strategic investment loans. What's the common thread? They are used to buy assets that historically go up in value or generate consistent cash flow. On the flip side, we have bad debt. This is that 25% APR credit card you used to buy a brand new luxury car that instantly loses 10% of its value the second you drive it off the lot. It's payday loans. It's financing a giant TV. This kind of debt actively drains your wealth because you're paying exorbitant interest on things that are aggressively losing value. It's literally the equivalent of setting your money on fire for warmth.
Section 2, the Billionaire Borrowing Playbook. Let's see how the wealthy actually borrow. Now that we've established that debt is a tool, let's look under the hood of the strategies used by the most successful capitalists in history. There are 4 core reasons the wealthy choose to borrow. First, unlocking tax advantages. This is massive. It's part of a famous insider strategy you might have heard of called buy, borrow, die. If a billionaire sells stock to buy a yacht, they trigger massive capital gains taxes. But if they borrow money against their stock, well, loan proceeds legally aren't taxed as income. Second, buying and scaling businesses. Debt lets them grow fast without giving up their precious ownership stakes. Third, leveraging existing assets. They use the wealth they already have as collateral for incredibly cheap capital. And fourth, keeping cash invested. I mean, why spend your own money and miss out on years of compound interest when you can just borrow someone else's money at a rock-bottom rate and keep your own portfolio growing?
Let's look at some real-world examples, starting with Elon Musk. He is the architect of a truly incredible innovation strategy. When Musk needs massive amounts of capital to fund a new venture, he historically hasn't just sold off chunks of his companies. Selling sacrifices his control and hands a huge chunk of his wealth straight to the IRS. Instead, he uses leverage. He famously pledges millions of his own Tesla shares as collateral to secure these massive personal lines of credit. This lets him unlock billions of dollars in liquidity to fund innovation, build new businesses, and keep his majority equity stakes, all without triggering a massive tax bill. It's a highly aggressive but highly effective use of leverage.
Then we have Jeff Bezos, where the architecture of his fortune is built on very similar principles. Bezos holds immense foundational assets, mostly in Amazon stock. By leveraging those assets, he gets access to capital solutions that ordinary people simply can't.
Here's a wild reality for you. While the average person might go to a bank and be absolutely thrilled to get a 7% mortgage, banks are more than happy to offer incredibly low, sometimes sub 2% interest rates to a billionaire, pledging Amazon stock as collateral. That borrowing is practically free compared to how fast his portfolio is growing every year. He uses this ultra-cheap borrowed money for personal buys or enterprise growth, all while letting his core asset just continue compounding untouched over the decades.
And finally, Warren Buffett. He's often seen as the most conservative of the three, but Buffett is actually a master of leverage. He just uses a completely different architectural style. His strategy relies on calculated capital solutions to maximize returns. Through Berkshire Hathaway, Buffett uses something called the float from his insurance companies, like Geico. Float is basically money collected from customers as insurance premiums that hasn't been paid out yet in claims. So Buffett is essentially getting paid by customers to hold on to their massive piles of cash. He takes that cash and invests it. This acts as a form of incredibly cheap, sometimes even negative cost leverage. It lets him keep a colossal amount of cash fully deployed in the market, maximizing returns without ever taking on traditional high-interest bank debt. It's honestly brilliant.
Section 3. The hidden dangers. Because leverage definitely has its risks.
Okay, before we all run out and start applying for massive loans, we need to take a massive step back. Leverage is not a magic wand. Remember our fire analogy? When leverage goes wrong, it burns the house down with astonishing speed. And that brings us to the debt trap. This is a destructive financial cycle caused by high interest costs, poor investment decisions, or simply using way too much leverage. When you borrow money, yes, you're amplifying your potential gains, but you're also amplifying your potential losses. If an asset you bought with debt suddenly drops in value, you still owe the original borrowed amount plus the interest. We saw this play out on a catastrophic global scale during the 2008 housing crisis. Millions of people and massive institutional banks were dangerously overleveraged on real estate that suddenly plummeted in value. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the math. Notice that tall, aggressive red bar? That represents the rapid, compounding growth of interest costs when you're overleveraged or stuck in bad debt. It grows exponentially. It never sleeps, it doesn't take a vacation, and it never has a bad day. Now compare that to the shorter, sluggish blue bar representing poor investment returns. Mathematically, if your interest costs are compounding faster than your assets are growing, your wealth is literally being hollowed out from the inside.
So the stark realities of leverage are incredibly clear. Taking on too much leverage leaves you with absolutely zero margin of safety if the broader market turns against you. Crushing interest costs can destroy your cash flow overnight. And poor investments made with borrowed money, well, that means you lose double. These risks don't just apply to everyday consumers. History is absolutely littered with billionaires, real estate tycoons, and massive corporate empires that fell into debt traps and were totally wiped out because they ignored these basic rules of finance. If your debt outpaces your growth, it is a mathematical certainty that you will face ruin.
Section 4, using debt wisely. Let's look at some actionable steps. So, how do we translate the grand strategies of billionaires into responsible, actionable steps for our own lives? Here is the playbook for everyday application. Step 1. Avoid consumer debt relentlessly. Never, ever pay high compounding interest for things that lose value. Step 2. Invest carefully. Actually, scratch that. Invest obsessively carefully. If you're going to use leverage, the investment must be heavily researched and fundamentally sound. Step 3. Buy appreciating assets. For the average person, the ultimate, most accessible form of good leverage is a mortgage. Why? Because you might only put 5 or 10% down, the bank provides the rest, but you get to keep 100% of the property's appreciation over time. It's a massive wealth builder when used responsibly. And that leads to Step 4, build wealth responsibly. Don't overextend yourself just because a bank says you can. Always, always keep a cash safety net. We've covered the mechanics, the billionaire playbooks, and the hidden dangers of the leverage paradox. But I want to leave you with this final thought. Debt isn't good or bad. The way you use it determines whether it builds your wealth or destroys it. The billionaires we talked about today, they aren't playing a totally different game. They just understand the rules of leverage way better than the rest of us. They respect the fire. Debt is simply an amplifier. So, as you look at your own finances today, I want you to ask yourself a very serious question. Is the debt in your life currently working for the banks, or is it working for you? Think about that. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I look forward to exploring our next topic with you.